The Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts present Youth Week 2018. Empowering our youth, shaping our community, protecting our future. The week of activities kicks off on Friday, November 9th with the Minister's Address from 8 p.m. Saturday, 10th November, Health Fair, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cuthbert Peters Park, War, and the Fitness Revolution, 3 p.m. Concord Junction. Sunday, 11th November, it's the Peace Concert, Grenville Bus Terminal. On Tuesday, 13th November, ministers meet with the youth at Her Majesty's Prison. Thursday, 15th November, from 5 p.m., it's the Imani Graduation, Youth Awards and Gala. And on Friday, 16th through the weekend, it's the National Youth Service Weekend. Every parish get involved. And on Saturday, 17th November, it's Youth Expo, Explosion Fashion and Cultural Day, 2 p.m. until at Hero Square, Victoria in St. Mark. So remember, Youth Week 2018, November 9th to the 17th.
The following is an address to the nation and all public officers by Cabinet Secretary Mrs. Beryl Isaac to update and clarify the issue of pension restoration and reform.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Government Pension Engagement Committee finds it necessary to update the nation and government employees in particular at this time on the issues of pension restoration and reform, and more specifically, the issue of gratuity. We wish to assure you that government values and recognizes the work of all public officers and has, as a matter of policy, made every effort to improve the pay, benefits, and working conditions for its employees. Government, however, can only do so within the limits of what the economy can afford. Our country has just emerged from a successful structural adjustment program with the help of the international community and the sacrifices of our people. Government was able to achieve this success without the loss of a single job in the public service. Unlike in the private sector and in other countries like Barbados, where hundreds of workers were retrenched and private companies carried out their own structural adjustments. Recall what happened in our local banking, telecommunications, construction, and hotel sectors, where hundreds of workers were sent home. In recognition of the sacrifices made by all workers, government took the following policy measures to assist working people and their families. Removed personal income tax on retrenchment pay, removed income tax on pensions, including NIS pensions, lowered the income tax from 15% to 10% of earnings between $36,000 and $60,000 per annum, thereby easing the pressure on lower-income workers. Increased the social wage by boosting spending on house repair assistance to the lowest-paid workers and the rural poor. Increased seed payments to the elderly. Increased spending to help needy students. To date, government has awarded scholarships to the value of $48.49 million. In addition, government took several measures specific to public officers, namely, it paid all of the retroactive pay and increments in addition to salary increases amounting to over $110 million between 2013 to 2018. In January 2018, government increased the pay of its workers in the public service by 3%, and an additional 4% will be paid in January 2019. Government's current annual wage bill for public officers is $278.7 million, which will increase to $287 $1.6 million in 2019. Note that in the case of Barbados, public officers there had their salary frozen for 10 years and only received an increase of 5% after the general elections. Government brought onto the permanent staff some 300 plus teachers and 139 nurses, which has significantly increased the cost of the annual wage bill. It is against this backdrop that government formulated and announced its intention to restore and reform pensions to public officers. Therefore, government did not appeal the judgment in the Hamlin-Armstrong case. It accepted the judgment of the High Court and paid Mrs. Armstrong her pension and attendant benefits as directed by the court. Government paid those workers who, like Mrs. Armstrong, joined the service between April 4th, 1983 and February 22nd, 1985. Only 2 months ago, government paid out $7 million to those persons. Thus, government has met all of its legal obligations on the matter of pension restoration. Now, where are we on the pension reform? It is very important to be clear that workers joining the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985 are only legally entitled to the contributory pension from the NIS and no other. Notwithstanding, the Prime Minister declared that his government was committed to enhancing the NIS pension for those public officers, and the following agreement was reached with the public sector unions and staff associations. Any worker who joined the public service between 4th April 1983 and which date was subsequently changed to 22nd of February 1985 to 31st of December 2018 and is permanent in an established post who meets the relevant criteria, government guarantees that the pensionable benefits inclusive of the NIS shall be 70% of his or her last salary. Government will endeavor to establish a new contributory plan for those workers, established and unestablished, who joined the service after 31st of December 2018. Now to explain the issue of gratuity. In the Memorandum of Understanding, it was agreed that government will restore and reform pensions. After much discussion, government proposed to pay 98% of a worker's pension monthly and 2% prepaid pension as gratuity. The 2% prepaid pension, commonly referred to as a gratuity, is repayable over 12.5 years. Of course, the worker always have the option to receive his or her full pension monthly. In such a case, no gratuity is paid. Gratuity is not a payment from the employer in addition to pension. Gratuity is an advanced payment on pension. It is equivalent to and the same as a salary advance. Under the 1958 pension formula, a worker had the option to receive an advance payment on his or her pension of 25%, thus reducing his or her monthly payment to 75%. For example, if a public officer's pension worked out to be $2,000 a month, and he or she took a gratuity of 25%, his or her pension will be reduced to $1,500 a month. The gratuity or prepayment of a pension will then be $500 per month by 12 months over 12.5 years, and that will equal $75,000 Preliminary costings have shown that if government were to agree to the demands of the unions and associations, this will add upwards of $21 million annually to the payroll, bringing the cost of pensions to approximately $74 million annually. This provision of the 1958 Pension Act must be reformed, as the state cannot finance this cost. Also, this cost seriously breaches the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Any pension plan must have two basic features. It must be sustainable and affordable. Let us be clear. The gratuity payment of $75,000 in the above example has to be paid by the retiree through monthly deductions of $500 for 12 and a half years from his or her pension. This is why, when a gratuity is paid, the monthly pension of the worker is reduced. What the government is proposing is to pay 98% of a worker's monthly pension and 2% as gratuity. In other words, the public officer will receive a monthly pension of $1,960, while under the union's demand, that pension will be reduced to $1,500 per month. After 12 and a half years, having repaid government the gratuity, the worker will revert to his or her full pension. Age of retirement has to be reformed. The other dispute arising during these negotiations is the question of when pensions should be paid. All over the world, the age of retirement has been increasing. In Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and Jamaica, the pensionable age is 65 years. In Dominica, it is 62. Grenada is one of the few countries where the retirement age remains 60 years. Several actuarial reports have pointed to the need to increase the age to 65 years. In the reform of our pensions, the state cannot afford to pay pensions to anyone under the age of 60 years. For purposes of the reform, government proposes to maintain that a public officer can retire after 26 and 30 years, but will receive his or her pension at age 60 at whatever age is prescribed in law. Government proposes further that at the point of retirement, it can afford to make a prepayment of 2% of a worker's pensionable entitlement as gratuity. In the context of Grenada's current economic position, this is what is affordable and sustainable and falls within the fiscal expenditure rules. The consequence of breaching these rules will be very grave for Grenada and will result in the loss of significant amounts of concessionary loans and grants. The national economy will then be reversed, affecting growth and employment, and ultimately threatening the employment of the said public officers. The Government Pension Engagement Committee wishes to remind the leadership of the public sector unions that their respective collective agreements and the Labor Relations Act set out clear procedures for the resolution of disputes. To take irregular industrial actions without following the procedures laid down are indeed unlawful and a breach of good industrial relations practice. Government appeals to public officers and their respective unions and associations to be understanding and responsible. We call on the union leaders who walked off the negotiating table on 3rd of October to return. We can only resolve this problem through constructive dialogue. We look forward to reaching a comprehensive agreement in the interests of our public officers and our beloved country. I thank you for listening, and good night.
The proceeding was an address to the nation and all public officers by Cabinet Secretary Mrs. Beryl Isaac to update and clarify the issue of pension restoration and reform.
Good morning, listeners. This program comes to you from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. In this morning's program, we wish to highlight some concerns regarding the inappropriate use of public receptacles. The practice of backing into bins to offload huge quantities of waste is causing much concern to the authority due to a number of factors. Concrete receptacles are often hit in the process, resulting in partial or complete damage to the structural walls of the receptacles. This often leaves such collection points out of commission for some time, resulting in inadequate facilities for the disposal of waste and spills created by animals due to exposed waste. The other factor has to do with traffic hazards and traffic congestion resulting from the practice. Trucks packed up alongside or across the road with intent to or in the process of offloading waste serve to hinder the free movement of vehicular traffic, especially during peak traffic hours. This is a common occurrence, especially in the Grand Anse, Frequenté, Montou, and Grand Anse Valley communities. To begin with, the bins are not intended to be transfer stations for waste, but rather receptacles for household-generated waste. In this light, truck operators who have been entrusted with the responsibility of hauling waste are reminded that the only designated area for waste disposal is the Perseverance landfill in Grenada or Dumfries in Carriacou. It has also been observed that concrete as well as metal receptacles are being used from time to time to offload huge quantities of building material, including galvanized, wood, along with tree limbs and other heavy metal objects. It is to be noted that collection points are not intended for the disposal of such items. Neither is it legal to place items on the outside of bins. In fact, it goes contrary to certain components of the Waste Management Act. The placement of these large items around bins serves to delay the collection service, as bins would first have to be cleared before regular waste is removed from these receptacles. The practice also serves to encourage persons to set fires around bins, and this results in the weakening of the structural walls of receptacles. Gates are often destroyed in the process. When bins have to be repaired, it is a costly exercise, and at times the bins have to be decommissioned for a period of time, leaving residents in the affected area with no alternative but to place waste on the roadside, which exposes garbage to the mercy of animals and drifters. Again, we wish to encourage waste haulers not to shortcut on their obligations, but to ensure that all waste entrusted in their care is taken to the authorized waste disposal site for safe disposal. That's our presentation for today. Do have yourselves a very pleasant day from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority.
Water, Earth's purest life-sustaining resource, can easily become contaminated by environmental conditions. NAWASA continues to improve the quality of its water supply through state-of-the-art water treatment systems and trained, experienced staff. NAWASA preserves our health and quality of life. NAWASA, committed to meeting customers' needs.
Good morning, consumers, and thank you for joining us for yet another WaterWise program produced by the National Water and Sewage Authority, NWASA. I am your presenter today, Jamila Samuel. The authority's True Blue sewage disposal system is well on the way. Head of NWASA's Planning and Development Department, who is overseeing the project, Mr. Wim Cox, has been speaking to us over the past week about the status of this project and highlighting the upgrade to the water supply network, an added boost for the residents of True Blue. This project involves the installation of sewer lines on the True Blue roundabout to the entrance of the SGU campus and will provide safe disposal of wastewater for residents of the area. Its success involves collaboration with a number of stakeholders who NWASA wishes to commend highly. Approximately $3.5 million are being expended on the new sewage disposal system for the community of True Blue. When completed, the project, of course, will serve the residents from True Blue area around SGU and Seaview Drive to the entrance of True Blue roundabout.
The outfall project is now ongoing. That's the outfall at Point Saline. That has been down for, I think, since in 9 or something like that. And we've only just gotten around to doing it. And again, it's just, as I say, prioritized, not an allocation of funds. We are going to get there slowly but surely as we continue to look at all the different needs of and so of the Grenadian people as it relates to water supply and wastewater treatment.
As we wrap up, I guess it was a collaborative effort. So it was just not NWASA coming on board. Because I remember from the initial stage, we had to get the police to come on board with us for discussions on road and traffic diversion. We had SGU, which obviously the school was impacted because, of course, they had to facilitate traffic diversion. So what are the other partners in the success of this project, should we say?
The main partners here, in addition to SGU, as the main access route, the people of True Blue. We just can't be more grateful to them. I mean, they are undergoing a lot as it relates to, I mean, you pack your car up for 10 minutes on True Blue and it'd be white by the time you go back in it. That's how bad it is. Again, we have been reiterating to the contractor that he needs to just keep that road moist, lessen the amount while we try to get out of the dust.
So thank you very much, Mr. Cox.
Thank you.
That's Mr. Wim Cox, manager of NWASA's Planning and Development Department, who has been speaking with us over the past week about the status of NWASA's True Blue sewage disposal system. The project, of course, as you would have heard him mention, involves the installation of sewer lines from the True Blue roundabout to the entrance of the SGU campus. And NWASA, of course, is very happy for the collaboration between NWASA and a number of stakeholders. Well, that's where we wrap up this morning's presentation of WaterWise. On behalf of the entire team at NWASA, I am Jamila Samuel. Do have yourselves a wonderful day and a productive week.
Water, Earth's purest, life-sustaining resource, can easily become contaminated by environmental conditions. NWASA continues to improve the quality of its water supply through state-of-the-art water treatment systems and trained, experienced staff. NWASA preserves our health and quality of life. NWASA, committed to meeting customers' needs.
For over 2 decades, Grenada has had one of the highest electricity rates in the world. In a non-competitive environment, the high rates have been putting businesses under pressure, forcing householders to cut, stifling economic growth. Oh my Grenada. Like countries such as Dominica, St. Lucia, and Jamaica, Grenada is moving to open up the power generation sector to competition. Oh my Grenada. Like with telecommunications, competition will spur innovation, ensure efficiency and reliability, and make electricity more affordable. The economy will grow faster, and in the end, the network company will sell more. With a stronger economy, electricity usage will increase, maintaining profits for the provider while the prices gets lower for the consumer. Power to the people. Oh my Grenada. In a liberalized economy, everybody wins. Liberalization is about the people of Grenada. Fair competition, fair prices, power to the people.
The Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts present Youth Week 2018. Empowering our youth, shaping our community, protecting our future. The week of activities kicks off on Friday, November 9th with the Minister's Address from 8 p.m. Saturday, 10th November, Health Fair, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cuthbert Peters Park War, and the Fitness Revolution, 3 p.m. Concord Junction. Sunday, 11th November, it's the Peace Concert, Grenville Brush Terminal. On Tuesday, 13th November, ministers meet with the youth at Her Majesty's Prison. Thursday, 15th November, from 5 p.m., it's the Imani Graduation, Youth Awards and Gala. And on Friday, 16th through the weekend, it's the National Youth Service Weekend. Every parish get involved. And on Saturday, 17th November, it's Youth Expo, Explosion Fashion and Cultural Day, 2 p.m. until at Hero Square, Victoria in St. Mark. So remember, Youth Week 2018, November 9th to the 17th. Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada via www.hardtalkgrenada.com.
And a good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Pity Martinique. Once again, it is time for Hard Talk. My name is Sheldon Scott.
And I'm Devon Romain.
And of course, it is Hard Talk. We're live on 97.5 City Sound FM,
89.5 CRFM,
92.9 Sister Al FM out there in Carriacou,
and 94.9 We Vibes Radio in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, indeedy. And let's say a special good morning to all of you that are jumping around on the live.
Yeah,
good morning to you, Dexter. Paddy's. Morning, sir. Yeah, I'm Sonia. She's checking us in from a very cold Toronto.
Yeah.
Is Toronto ever hot?
Always cold.
So, like if there's a new thing for Toronto.
Cold. Hey,
Sonia, what do you, girl?
Sonia, you must say good morning to Cheryl for me, please. That's your good friend.
Yeah, they're always cool. Yeah. They always cool.
Always cool.
Yeah, Mr. Watts, good morning to you, Betty. Good morning to you, Mrs. Thomas and Alicia. James, I hope that you sent that WhatsApp I tell you to send and that you got the response that you were supposed to get and everything is organized. James? Nice, good. Right, my good friend. Kendon, good morning to you, Sally. Hey. You have the muscle man there, you know? Damien there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, good morning to you. Hermione and Cynthia. We're seeing all of you on the live this morning and all of the others I may not have called yet. Kimron, morning. All of you that are on the live this morning, we say a special glorious Grenadian good morning to you. Remember to like and share the live. Like and share the live. Touch a little piece of pan?
Yep.
Right, don't touch a little piece of pan. Devon, we also have to say a special good morning, to Andrew, Winston, Sherlan, Delroy, Terran, Sybil, Ramela, Agnes, Dion, Kiruna, Doreen, Sarana, Richard, and Carol, and they're out there at Paddy's Enterprise in Carriacou. We say a special glorious Grenadian good morning to each and every one of you. May the blessings of the Lord be upon you, each and every one of you, immensely this beautiful Monday morning.
Yep.
Okay, James, I'll sort that out for you as soon as I'm off air. I'm going to go and grab him by the coattails. I hope I sent the right number to you. The most versatile instrument on the planet Earth. morning to you, Brian. Yeah, I am on Saturday. Devon, we're giving them one more? One more for the elderly, or for the people like Miss Clytie,
Yes.
Mammy George, Miss Jacob, Miss Noriega, Auntie Ruth. Yeah, all of the elder people out there. We're gonna give them a nice little one. Give them a nice little one. And okay, let me give them a nice little one. They'll go to church with that one. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Journey in Steel. I would say Christmas Journey in Steel.
Christmas Journey.
Yeah, Brian, you tell us who playing them steel pan and them there, right? Nice, yeah. Who playing? You notice we just say play. We ain't saying beaten steel pan. We ain't about beaten. You just beat it to make it. Yeah, but when you make it, you just play it. All right?
Quiet, soft, quiet pan music this morning to start off that, this session. What a beautiful morning here in Spice Country, Grenada.
Quiet morning, huh?
Yeah, quiet morning.
You can tell we're heading down to Christmas, really, and there's the anticipation.
It's raining in St. Andrews, man.
It's raining in St. Andrews.
Oh, man, since yesterday.
It was a bit rainy down my end last night.
Pouring rain since yesterday. When around 3, 4 o'clock outside, it was dark.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Ministry of Youth, though, they had that peace concert at the bus terminal.
Yeah, it came
yesterday. I realized that it came off. Some of them youth and them just go under them thing there. And
Isaiah went. He was insistent he had to go.
Yeah, man. So they went and they enjoyed themselves there yesterday.
Morning to Anissa and Isaiah. Good morning to you all.
Yes, indeed. And folks, the phone number 440-7377. That's 440-7377.
And 347-329-3101.
You know, one of our stations, Sister Isle, they're celebrating an anniversary. I can't remember exactly how much. It's Lisa Marie. You or anyone at the station, hit me a WhatsApp and remind me of how many years Sister Isle has been around. They're celebrating an anniversary right now. Okay. Yeah, they had a function, not last weekend, the weekend before, I think it was. They had a nice function and so they're celebrating. Hey, Naz, what going on? You good, man? All right, okay, yeah. You check Duncan before you come in here, just to make sure that she got to come and drag you out. You should go and check with Duncan, eh?
Duncan, you don't want Naz, no? Come and take him now and go with him, eh?
Just make sure.
Right.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we ain't taking, we'll lock the door.
Yeah, we get ready to lock the door and thing. I find she's too regular.
But today, the 12th day of November, it's a special day.
Special day.
Yeah, today we have to say, I wonder if people will know what we're talking about if we play some tunes. Let me see if I play some tunes, I wonder if people gonna know. Let me get a tune here, and then people might know who are speaking about. If we play some tunes, let me try this tune. Let me see if people know who we're talking about.
Captain, if the ship not sinking, don't change the captain, ship Grenada moving. The passengers longing to see the promised land. Don't change the captain have a plan.
I have idea who I'm speaking about. I wonder if I play a sparrow. Let me try playing a sparrow. Let me try a sparrow. You think they know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think they know by now.
Do you think they know?
Yeah, I think they know by now.
Let me see if they know.
You dig up some old.
Listen, Grenadian, if you really love this station, you stay away from them wicked opposition. I born in this land, and I want them to understand. before, up until the revolution. Those are the same guys that destroy the whole nation. So I'm warning you, please take this advice from me. On election day, vote in your national party. So tell them to leave a little dog in peace. He's the honest man to rule this country. And if they're blind to the facts and they cannot see what they aiming at, we should already.
Yeah, let Facebook tag that one. All you know we're talking about, today's the birthday of Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell.
How young is he?
How young? But I want to guess them age now, but I stopped counting after the man passed 65, because I find like he wasn't counting either.
Yeah, he was reversing.
When the man reached 65 and he in reverse gear.
And he reverse gear, I want to know.
I stopped counting since he passed 65. So me, I know. But I can tell you this, that Prime Minister remains as energetic as ever. Yeah. And when we look at him, we also see a model for a lot of other people in his exercise routine. You know, he exercises every morning. He makes sure that he gets up and he does his exercise. And we're talking about no DB exercise. We're talking about pushing serious weights and those kind of things, making sure that he eats properly, making sure that he drinks enough water. And you know, the most important one that both him and his mom has said to me, his mom, who's in her 90s, and himself, they have said that one of the things that helps to contribute to their youthfulness, one of the things that helps to contribute to the longevity, is that they go to bed at night without anybody in their mind. Without, I want to say anybody in their mind, without hating anybody. You may dislike something that somebody does, but it doesn't mean that you have to hold hate in your heart towards them. Yeah, so you may dislike the act, but not the individual. So that at night, his mom said when she goes to bed at night, she forgives everybody for anything they do. She forgives them. And Dr. Mitchell does the same thing. That's why he do have to wake up in the morning and with a vexation and he vex and he upset. Forgiveness has a lot to do with the longevity of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of your heart always racing anytime you see somebody because you're vexed. Yeah. You want to jump on them. Yeah?
And he has been an example in terms of, as you said, living his life healthy and the way how he go along his daily routine and everything. He has been an example, not just for those of his age, but for the younger ones. An example to them as to what must be done, in your daily lives. And so well organized and everything like that. So hey, Doc, happy birthday. And may you live to see many, many more.
Yeah, Doc, I stopped counting since age 65. Doesn't count.
I can't count again because when I watch men.
Yeah, 65 when I was looking 45 and all that thing.
I watch men in the 40s and thing, and when you look at Doc, you wonder, you say, well, Doc's supposed to be 35 when you're watching them. You know what I'm saying? So, Doc, you have done well.
Yeah, we're going to open the phone lines in a little while for you to be able to call and say happy birthday to Dr. Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. But remember, we have a big issue to deal with too, Yes. And we're going to have just under an hour to deal with that. We started off by playing for you the address to the nation by Ms. Beryl Isaac in relation to the issue of pension restoration and reformation. And I've been looking at the Memorandum of Understanding over the weekend, looking at it with fresh eyes again. Still trying to wonder what part of it did government breach. That part is kind of slipping me. So maybe the unions could tell me, but I'm looking at the Memorandum of Understanding. I have it signed by all of them, and still can't understand which part of it has been breached.
I've not got the opportunity to to take a look at it in its detail and so. But I know my whole thing is that there can be no other solution but negotiations.
Yeah, but that's the only solution. I mean, I have some calls to make today. Now I want to see some people and things today. Well, if you're afraid to touch another NNP2, what's right?
No one stands alone.
I had them there, I find one or two people ask me where I find it. I find it. I have it there,
We are a party to reign. We're moving on. We're striving on. We're working on. Not another domain. We are a party to reign. We're moving on. We're striving on.
We working on not another domain. No man is an island. No one stands alone.
See now, who bringing Flying Cloud next year for that for our concert? If I bring Flying Cloud, I pay any money to go and see Flying Cloud. No, I'm telling them.
Flying Cloud.
Seriously, Flying Cloud in concert. All you find is about time for that Cloud in concert. Yeah. And you could bring Turkey too. Cloud and Turkey in Turkey. Two flying. Flying Cloud and Flying Turkey.
Oh, that would be a show.
Yeah. And you have a Jamo, Specky, Randy as guest appearances.
Yep.
Yeah, you could even find people like Doggies and all of these guys and them, and you had them as guest appearance and thing. You must call in Grandpa Chain. You can't have thing like that. I don't call in Grandpa Chain.
You can't do off Chain.
You had to call in Grandpa Chain, so you had to get them kind of things. Hey, put that together. Put together that show.
Even like a Darky.
Yeah.
Right there.
But you must have a Darky, Lady Cheryl.
Yeah.
Lady Cheryl,
Lady Cynthia.
Oh boy, there's this other lady. Oh gosh, why is her name eluding me right? No, Super Terry.
Yeah, Super Terry.
But you're bringing a Super Terry there and thing. And watch. Like I had to start promoting shows. I will do show. I will do that show myself. Be all joking with that boy. Cloud in concert. I come in that boy. I come in to dance. So folks, yes indeed. Yeah. Yes, a Flying Cloud and a Turkey. Yeah, Diane, bring them. Yeah, bring them. Oh, Abby? Abby still around, boy?
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah.
Abby still around?
Yeah. Should be, yeah.
Abby still alive? Serious? I didn't realize
if Brenda tell you that, she knows.
Abby, some people may wonder who is Abby, you know. There's Abby. Let me get you a piece of Abby and all you know who is Abby. I wonder if I could find Abby. Yeah, I should be able to find her. Yeah.
Dr. G was a teacher before he became a doctor. He was an all-rounder and also a soldier. He gone to return all home, leaving friends and family to mourn. He died suddenly while attending to Dorothy. She say he died a hero. Plenty people told know. When I saw Dr. G was dying,
I took off like a jet plane.
I run from Windsor to Balthazar. Before I find a driver, was a nice man, was a loving man. He died with love and affection.
That's certain Calypsonia and me, I want to know my business.
That's all.
Yes, I agree. Definitely Skylark is a must for a show like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Skylark. I even bringing back Durity. Yeah, I even bringing in Durity for that.
You'll get Durity.
Yeah, so folks, we do say a very special happy birthday to Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. We go end with a song for him. We go end with the birthday song for him. Yeah, we're going to end with the birthday song for him. But we have the issue at hand. Children are at home, and so are teachers.
Yep. Thousands of our children home.
As far as we know, there is no industrial dispute taking place in the state of Grenada right now between the teachers and the government. I will check with the Labour Minister and the Labour Commissioner, but as far as I know, there is no dispute at this point in time between the government of Grenada and no industrial dispute between the government of Grenada and the Grenada Union of Teachers.
Not that I know
So
of.
for teachers to just willy-nilly go on strike is not only quote-unquote illegal because it does not fall within the parameters of the law, it is also unfortunate because I think that to return to the negotiating table and to speak it out and to thrash it out would be the better direction to go than trying to leverage the children of the nation against the government. Because that's what you all are doing, you know. And you know me, I love you all. I respect the work of teachers. I am all for making sure that you all get the best deal possible. The best deal possible. Yeah, I'm all for restoration and reformation of pensions. I'm all for ensuring that a teacher does not teach for 30 years and goes home having to go and work security in the night to try and pay off their mortgage or to try and get something to eat, or try to have to depend on their children or charity of others to survive. I am all for ensuring that our teachers, our public servants, our police officers, our nurses can retire in comfort. I'm all for that. But I'm also all for everyone in Grenada having the opportunity to do that as well. And anything that in my mind I perceive that is going against that, that is going to jeopardize either the teacher's benefit or jeopardize the rest 80-something thousand of us that are out here that don't have access to the pensions and gratuities that you would be having access to. If I see something that's going to affect their ability to rest and relax when they attain the age of retirement in Grenada, I'm going to be against it too. So some form of negotiation has to take place. They left the negotiating table on the 3rd of October. And then a full month later have decided to take industrial action. It's not as though the government has said we cannot negotiate. It's not as though the government has said we cannot discuss. It is not as though the government has said that this is an inflexible position, that's the final position, they can't move from that position. They're saying, come to the negotiating table and speak with us. We heard Ms. Beryl Isaac saying that, innit? Yep. Come to the negotiating table and speak with us. There may be a formula that can work out, that can be to the benefit of all parties involved. And remember, when you're speaking negotiating and you're speaking to a union that represents public workers, all parties involved are not just the union and government, because the money to pay the workers within that union does not come out of the pockets of the politicians only. It does not come out of the pockets of Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. It does not come out of the pockets of Honorable Gregory Bowen and Honorable Emlyn Pear, Honorable Peter David, Honorable Anthony Boson, Honorable Kendra Matthew Stewart. It does not come out of their pocket only. It comes out of everybody's pocket. So the government is not just representing the 15 members of parliament, parliamentary representatives. The government represents everybody out here. So in negotiating, including the same teachers as well, including them. So it is the government's responsibility to ensure that the finances of the country are well catered for. That is why Grenada remains one of the only countries that has put in place the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which guides and directs the direction that government can spend. So no government will be able to come in and just decide, we feel like spending $2 billion on extending the size of Isle-Ronde. We just want to build Isle-Ronde. We know it's privately owned, but that's not. We just want to extend the size of it, and we think we're going to put a Coast Guard base there and just extend the size of Isle-Ronde. Government cannot do that. Just decide to go in and spend $2 billion on a project like that. Or that they're going to take a $1 billion and do some out-of-the-way crazy project some part of Grenada. It must be done in a specific way, a specific form, a specific fashion, and taking into consideration the amount of money that is coming into the country on a yearly basis and the amount of money going out. And the thing is this, I believe that if a temporary solution can arrive now, because while all of this is taking place, I think what a lot of people are not realizing is that there are people who are retiring from the service this month, and people who are retiring next month, and people who are going to be retiring in 2019 that should have already been in a position to start receiving their pensions and gratuities that are now being held back from receiving anything along those lines because of what is taking place now. Therefore, in my belief, it is important for the unions to come back to the table. And this nonsense, this fear-mongering and scaremongering by some unintellectual, pseudo-intellectual idiots out there who are talking about country shutting down and trying to scaremonger among our people out, especially outside in the diaspora, because those at home know better than that. That's how, it's not going to have electricity stock up on what, candles and this kind of shippiness. or that water is going to be turned off, and that sort of nonsense. It is against the law for the electricity company, the workers in the electricity company, to go on strike and turn off the electricity. It just cannot happen. Yeah? It is also, in fact, anybody doing that would be jailed. And I, for one, will be all for it. They better hope I'm on a jury when the case come up. The same goes with water and that sort of thing. Not because TAU might be the union that has the workers in those locations means that these workers can go and interfere with the infrastructure inside there to turn off current. Anybody with a modicum of common sense would know that. But you have some that have been attempting to scaremonger and scare, and you know what they're doing as well. These individuals know what they're saying because they know that there are several large cruise ships coming into Grenada this week and next week. Over the weekend, we had two or more in on Saturday, innit?
Saturday,
yeah, so thousands of visitors due to enter the country at this point in time, and they want to give the impression that Grenada is a place that's falling apart. When it is not. The teachers are quiet. You're not seeing teachers on the streets beating pan, making noise. They've taken their days of rest and reflection, and they're doing it technically because they know that public workers can stay home without an excuse for 3 days in a row. So technically, that's what they're doing. You realize they're not going to 4, they're not going to 5. You could stay home for 3 days. Under the labor code, you could stay home for 3 days without having to present an excuse. But after 3 days, you have to. So if it goes to the 4th day, you have to give. So they're taking your 3, come back to work, and then take another 3. Or take another 2, and disrupting the school term like that. No, we have to say it because people need to know exactly what's going on here. Yeah? And it's not a matter of, parents are the children home and parents just vexed because they have the children home. The education of children are being compromised. Where it would have been easy to just discuss these issues on the negotiating table. So 1 month and days, the union left the table. Decided that they're going to call their first industrial action the day before and the day after the referendum, which leads me to the belief that it was nothing but political in nature, because they could have called it long before, they could have called it after, but they decided the day before and the day after the referendum is when they're going to go that direction. That points a big arrow pointing towards political motives.
The leadership of the union should have thought, much more of that, especially around the time.
I ain't calling people NDC.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe them. I don't even know which party LL and the others even support. I don't care. I don't know.
And that is their business.
That is their business. Yeah. But I'm saying there are political motives. Yeah? In an attempt to hurt the government. Also. But you didn't hurt the government because the teacher that ends up in a problem with their insurance or so on and needs to access the final court of appeal, they're the ones that are going to feel the pain under the situation. Yeah? So you didn't bloody the nose at the government. What you did, the government still remains. What you did is that you affected the same people that you say you're trying to protect.
Exactly. And then I consider all our students, especially our Form 4 students or Form 5 students, and so even the Form 1s who are just getting in. And so the Form 4 are preparing, 1 year in advance, and then the Form 5 are about to do exams. Now,
the good thing is this, as I've said before to you all, and those of you that listen to Hard Talk know I've often spoken about this. Get your copy of the syllabus. Get it off of the Ministry of Education, or it's online on the CXC website. Get your copy of your child's syllabus for the various subjects that they're doing. They tell you which areas. Now, your child would have the books, and they tell you which areas your child is supposed to go through. I know that when I was writing CXC and when I was doing my A-levels, I got copies of the syllabus, and I went through them myself. Yeah, if I had a question, I would ask the teacher, and I attend class and so as normal, but I made sure that I had a grasp of what was going on my own. And if you do that, strike or no strike, your child won't fall back. I'm telling you, if you do that, strike or no strike, your child will not fall back. They should not be at home right now, just dilly-dallying around the place. They should be in a book. And if you had the syllabus, you would have a pretty good understanding of what area within the book they should be doing. For instance, when they're doing CXC math, there are several areas, but you don't have to do the entire CXC textbook in math. There are some sections that are optional. So there are some that you don't need to do, and there are some that you must do. And the syllabus lines that out for you. So it's important to go online to the CXC website, get a copy of the syllabus, and make sure that you work along with your child. Don't leave it totally up to the teachers. You may not understand something, or the child may not understand something, and they can go to the teacher and ask a question. Yeah? Miss, I've been doing this and I don't quite understand it. In whatever subject. Or sir, I've been doing this and I don't quite understand it. And they would be able to go through this sort of thing without it damaging their preparations right now. Yeah? That would be a problem if you don't do that right now. It's important. Yeah?
And I would just advise parents, well, as you say, parents, pay attention. It's something that it's unavoidable. Teachers decide to go on strike, industrial actions, and so you as parents now have to step up on your game and ensure that your child does not miss anything, right? You have to, right? Because I'm outside of that. I mean, it's a problem. Our children must be our priority, right? Irrespective of the circumstances that they are in, or the countries in at this point in time, their education is priority. And we must make no bones about that, all right? And so on. At the same time, hey, the teachers are doing what they have to do, in my view, and, you know.
But I don't think that they have to do it. And the thing is this, I think that the union leadership needs to focus on what is priority. Yeah, they have their particular constituents that they have to deal with. The teachers are their constituents and they have to address the issues of the teachers. By the same token, the government has to address the issues of everyone, not just the teachers. So it cannot be a situation, and I'm not going to tolerate, I'm not going to be one of the people calling teachers greedy. Because if I was a teacher, I wanted my gratuity and the best package that I could get.
Of course.
And I wanted my pension and the best package that I could get. But it's unfair because I've been hearing some statements being made out there about government don't care. And listen, one, the Hermelin Armstrong case that was brought to the courts, the government of Grenada, this government, this new National Party government of Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, could have appealed that case going right up to the Privy Council. They could have appealed the case going right up to the Privy Council. And you know what would have happened? For the next 4 or 5 years, we would not have been having this discussion about pensions being paid and gratuity levels and so on. So that's not a government that doesn't care. That's a government that cares. Already the people who qualify under the Hermelin Armstrong case, they have already been paid. Some $7 million have been paid out to these people already. So it is not a case that government doesn't care. Also, if one were to read the Pension Act in relation to teachers and tell me exactly what is the last statement within it. The Pension Act, and let me pull it up here. Let me pull it up here because I want to be specific when I'm making certain statements. I want to be very specific when it comes to the Pensions Act, because there's a specific act, Pensions School Teachers Act. Yeah, that's the law of Grenada, and the final part of it says in disqualification, right? No pension, gratuity, or other allowances under this act shall be granted to any teacher first appointed as such on or after the 4th of April, 1983. That's what the Pension Act for teachers says, eh? The final part, no pension, gratuity, or other allowance under this act shall be granted to any teacher first appointed as such on or after the 4th of April, 1983. The government has chosen to ignore that. Yeah? They're going to redo the laws and so on. And that's part of what the negotiations are. To redo these laws and so on, to allow for government to pay pensions to teachers, to pay gratuities to teachers, to pay pensions to public servants, because this also applies to other public servants as well, that they cannot are disqualified due to the law that was passed on the 4th of April 1983. They have been disqualified from pensions. They're supposed to receive their quote-unquote pension from the National Insurance Scheme, and we know the kind of pensions that they're getting there from the National Insurance Scheme. Government is saying that is unfair. Let us restore, even though legally government could have said, well, look, okay, we only have to pay the people involved, the 40-something or so people involved, in the Hermelin Armstrong case between the 4th of April 1983 and I can't remember the exact date. I think it's 1984, 1985.
85.
Yeah. That
April,
February or something.
February 5th, I think, 85.
Yeah. So that case could have just stood on its own, and government could have said, well, look, we don't have to pay these individuals and so, because legally the case that was filed was in relation to persons who were in the service, appointed to the service between 1984 and that date in 1985. When the act was put into place, government could simply say that, look, we don't have to pay anybody. We don't. But government has put its signature to a memorandum of understanding that says, look, we're going to deal with these people. Everyone who is within the service, and let me use the exact thing. The parties agreed to restoration and a phased approach to reform for qualifying officers' employees. So they have agreed to restoration. In other words, we will restore pensions to all categories of public workers who qualify. Secondly, that they're going to reform, that how it was being done before, it cannot be done that way now. And therefore, new calculations and new methodology has to come into play, right? So the parties agreed to restoration and a phased approach to reform for qualifying officers' employees. Below details the respective phases and describes the categories of officers' employees to be covered, as well as the associated guiding principles for each phase. Phase 1. The category of officers covered under this phase are public officers and members of the discipline service who have been or are appointed on a definitive basis to establish posts by the Public Service Commission. That's people who are appointed by the Public Service Commission of Grenada. They appoint you to a position within the public service. The Judicial and Legal Services Commission, we know of that regional body. So that would speak to peoples like magistrates and so on, judges and so, who are appointed. Or the Commissioner of Police. You know, police officers can be appointed by the Commissioner of Police or other staff within the ministry. The police service can be appointed by the Commissioner of Police.
Sergeant go down, I think.
Right. So you have those three categories. People appointed by the Public Service Commission, people appointed by the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, and people appointed by the Commissioner of Police. Right? Including April 4th, 1983 to December 31st, 2018, and who meet the criteria established through this process. So that these people would be treated, everybody up to who ain't appointed yet to know who's going to be appointed within the next few days and weeks. Up until
December.
December 31st. So you're negotiating to the front. So everybody that's coming, that is in and coming into the service who have been appointed, they have the letter from the Public Service Commission, from the Judicial and Legal Services Committee or the Commissioner of Police, that those people who meet the criteria established through this process. So any of those people who have their letters from these organizations and have spent 26 and a third, is 26 and a third?
Yeah, 26 and a third, yes.
Right, 26 and a third time, amount of time, that's 26.6, 26 years, 6 months or something like that. Yeah, let me say 7 months and round it off. 26 years, 7 months. Within the public service of Grenada, that these people would qualify for a pension and gratuity. Now, listening to Ms. Beryl Isaac, she did mention that the 1958 pensions legislation stated that there was a 25% gratuity. Yeah, now remember what a gratuity is. A gratuity is like you take, not a payday loan, but like you take a salary advance. So your gratuity, you can get a gratuity of, let's say, 20-something, 30-something thousand or even more according to what your calculation is, you get your gratuity. Now your gratuity is then deducted from your monthly pensions that you're still going to receive your pensions. So you may have somebody that may go home with a 50-something, 60-something, 70-something $1,000. But then every month they continue to receive their pension, but they receive it at a lower rate than if they had taken no gratuity.
Okay.
Right? So if they take the gratuity, the monthly pension that they're going to receive when they become pensionable is going to be reduced, might be a period of 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. The calculations vary according to whatever it is. And that person could receive their gratuity up front and then the reduced pension, or they could take the full pension and not take a gratuity.
So the gratuity, in terms of, as it is now with teachers or even government workers, you can take that gratuity in advance before you retire?
Yeah. Okay. You have the option. You can take your gratuity. Some people may say, I don't want the gratuity, give me my full pension. Right? Some people may say, and some people, there may be people that have made their time within the service and are not receiving their pension as yet because they haven't attained the pensionable age. You may have somebody, for instance, who went into the public service at the age of 18 or the age of 19, and they may have left the service, resigned, retired from the service, let's say at the age of 45 or 46 or maybe even
50,
in their 50s, they've left the service. Now, that person has qualified for a pension, but that person will not start to receive the pension until they attain the age of 60. Let me make another point here. There's the constant discussion, there's the constant discussion about parliamentarians receiving their pension. And how all a parliamentarian has to do is make 2 terms and then they're getting a pension. But the part they don't tell you is that the parliamentarian also has to attain the age of 60 first. So parliamentarians don't automatically receive their pension. So suppose you got into parliament in your 20s and then you come back and you get into parliament a second time for a second term and you make the amount of years that is required, while you may receive your gratuity on leaving office, you would not receive your pension until you attain the age of 60. Okay. So suppose a young parliamentarian, let's look at, for instance, the NDC young senator there, Kireen.
Yeah, Kireen.
I think she's 18, 19 or something. Suppose she makes a full term now, and then she comes back in and she makes another full term within the Senate or so, which means that she qualifies for a pension. But at that time, she's still in her 20s. She would have to wait 40-something years before she receives a pension. She still would not receive a pension. A lot of people don't realize that. They think that you just make 2 terms as a parliamentarian and then you have money awash coming. No, you have to make 60 first. You have to get to the age of 60.
So, I want to ask.
So, for instance, let's use our good partner, Roland Bola. You think he get a pension?
Well, no. He
had no pension. He had no pension to get until he get to 60, and he's not 60. About how old you think he is now?
Bola should be. Bola a little boy still, man. Oops, did I say that? Mr. Bola's supposed to be around early 50s. Yeah, in his early 50s, I would suppose. And pretty young, milk on his face still. You understand? And so let me ask that, Sheldon. Okay, you are the age of 52, right? And you made your years within the service and so, but you have to wait until 60. Now, would between that year 52 and 60, do you receive anything compensation or there's interest on what you
no, what you can do,
figure it out.
What you can do, if you have not attained the pensionable age, you could get the gratuity.
Okay.
Remember, the gratuity is like they give you some of your money up front.
Advance. Right.
So when you start to get your pension, you wouldn't be getting your pension at the, for instance, if you're supposed to receive 2,500, you might receive 2,000.
2,500 goes back towards that advance.
Until that is paid off.
Which is a gratuity.
Right. And what some people like about the gratuity is that the gratuity sometimes can be used as well, look, suppose I don't survive long after. Let me take my gratuity now. Let me spend my money now.
And
let me pay off.
And the pension will pay.
Right. So that's what they do. Or some people, for instance, a teacher may have a mortgage. They may have a loan in some lending institution or so that they need to service. And knowing that they have not yet qualified, if they leave the service early, they may want their gratuity. They say, I'm take my gratuity, I make the age. And they might try to pay off the bills with the gratuity until their pension kicks in. Or if they have attained the age, they may still take their gratuity and then take the pension at the reduced level. But there are various calculations that are in there. And if you're speaking about 25%, which I think is unwieldy, if you're speaking about 25% at the salary, I ain't jealous nobody their money. But what will it do to the consolidated fund? What will it do to the amount of money that government has disposable? Because you're going to be speaking upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars there that are going to have to be found.
Based on the calculation, I think Ms. Thing was saying around $15 million extra.
Well, even let's just not even look at the monthly, but look at the gratuity, which is the one-off.
Yeah.
So when they get the gratuity alone,
that's a huge sum.
You're talking about a pile of money there. They're not paying somebody $2,000 or $3,000 a month.
No.
You're speaking about
$50,000.
Right. You're speaking about
by thousands.
Exactly. So that is what government is getting at, and I think we just have to be fair and understand that. Look, more discussion, more negotiation needs to take place, rather than try to hold government, the same government that could have decided that they're going to take the Hermelin Armstrong case to the appeals court and tie everything up for the next 10 years, the same government that could have said, okay, we've dealt with those people that qualify under the Hermelin Armstrong case, let's just leave the others, the status quo with the others. We're not going to bother to look at the issue of gratuity and pension for the rest of people. We could just leave it as that. This government decided that they're going to do. There are other governments in the Caribbean that would have never put their foot inside that pool at all. They wasn't going there. They would have tapped this thing for 10 years, hope that our opposition party in power by the time the issue has to be dealt with, and leave that hot one for them to deal with, and then let it damage them enough so that they would be able to get in office afterwards. That's what some governments would have done. This government decided, to hell with it. We're going to deal with this issue. People are dying. They need money. They should have money in their pockets. It is unfair to allow that status quo to continue. Let us deal with it.
See, and another point is that, look, government would not give more than what they have available to them, right? When you look at all the different structural adjustments that it went through over the last 5-6 years, and so put its house in order, government will not commit to suicide. No, it will not do that, because look, if government only have this, access to $100 million, right? Why would it want to go and pay off $150 million? You know, it is just impossible. What's available to government, right? They can negotiate, and workers will get a percentage, because it's not only workers alone. The public workers and the teachers, other Grenadians too.
And you know, it's interesting, Devon, that I've heard Senator Humphrey speaking about this issue since the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
If you've attended Labor Day rallies and so on since the 1990s, and maybe even before that, because I can't tell you about before that. I can tell you from the early 90s coming forward. But if you have attended Labor Day rallies and so on, and you followed what was said, you'd realize that every year the issue of the restoration of pension was raised by Senator Humphrey.
Yeah.
And at times other speakers, but I can tell you for a fact that he has raised that issue over many. It would be interesting to hear his take on this entire situation now. I think we must really reach out to Chess.
I think, whether or not he would be able to say anything because he's president of the Senate or whatever, we don't know. Okay, but I think it's a very good person to have, as a resource person on this program, Sheldon, explaining, right, the whole question of the pension. Because remember, Senator Chester Humphrey was part and parcel of the revolution, right, when the whole question of NIS and the whole question of pension and so was stopped.
But Devon, remember, he was on an interview here with us where he said he was the one that came up with that whole thing.
The whole concept and everything like that.
How the NIS was supposed to operate. It was supposed to provide sufficiently for the pension that was removed. So it was just simply supposed to be replacing one with the other.
With the other.
But it hasn't worked out that way.
It hasn't worked out over that.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to hear from him.
Very, very interesting.
His views in relation. It had a guy who was in the Ministry of Finance at that time,
Yeah. I wonder if we should can we tap into that person also? You think it might be possible?
There's only one Nazim. There's only one Nazim we just get in studio here.
The other one won't come.
See a drawing?
the other one won't come. The other Nazim won't come out. He might be reluctant to even speak.
Folks, we're not ignoring your calls. We're going to take your phone calls in a little while. But we just thought it's important that we go into various aspects of this. Please don't call the teachers wicked. Because if you were in their shoes, you had to deal with screaming children every day. You wanted the best deal possible. So don't be upset with the teachers, yeah? Do not be upset with the teachers.
Be patient.
Yeah?
Right.
I believe, and Devon has said it on more than one occasion. Devon, tell them what you believe the approach is.
Negotiations.
Exactly.
Negotiations. Never stop negotiating for what you want. Never try to implement a tactic of force when there is still room for negotiations.
Devon,
lots of room.
Tell them what happened the last time you heard the words no negotiation.
No.
I ain't laughing. It's serious. But tell them the last time you sit in a room and you hear somebody say no negotiation, no compromise. What happened?
After that, about half an hour after, there were guns blazing all over the place. Right?
Understand?
All because of no negotiations and no compromise. And I'm talking about in the 80s, 83. We have gone past that time. Right? That is why it is so important as a people. We must remember the lessons of the past, not implying that it will or it could happen again, but the consequences for our country economically could be dire if we just decide to take, irresponsible actions when it comes to our finances.
No, I'm seeing a question here from Rhonda, and she's asking, Good morning, guys. I have a question. If the government is unwilling to commit suicide by paying what they don't, then why would they agree to the 25% before the elections? And I'm saying this, where did government agree to the 25% before the elections? Because I have the Memorandum of Understanding, and the Memorandum of Understanding does not speak to 25% anywhere. It speaks of the restoration and reformation. So if you're speaking of restoration of the pension, and the wording is specific, it says restoration and reformation. On the restoration and reform of pensions for public officers of the Grenada Public Service and members of the disciplined forces of Grenada. Now it says restoration and reform. So you're doing two things. You're restoring. So in restoring, then the Pension Act of 1958 comes into play. The Pension Act of 1958 speaks to 25% gratuity for public officers. But you're also speaking reform. In other words, we cannot continue with what is in the 1958 law. So it has to be reformed. So if you've seen a copy of the agreement, it doesn't say 25% gratuity anywhere in it. Yeah?
It mentioned 1958.
Exactly.
Right,
so you are restoring. So you restore pension. That was that act that came into play in 1984. You're saying, well, we had to forget that act. We're restoring pensions. So you're in the process of restoring. So you're going back to the 1958 act. But as you go back to the 1958 act, you are at the same time saying there are some things in that act that need to be changed. Because it would not be able to stand in, because the salaries that teachers was earning in 1958
is a minute among to what is being offered now.
Teachers does spend more than that in transportation in 2018. That was the entire salary that a teacher would have received in 1958. Teachers, and then you're speaking of a situation in 1958 where you didn't have the volume of teachers that we have in Grenada right now. How much schools you probably had? how many secondary schools you would have had? You'd have had
About
somebody major.
About three or four.
The Revolution that come and do a lot of secondary schools. So Eric Matthew Gary did
Matthew
quite a
Gary,
few.
yes.
And then the Revolution did a few.
Well, the Revolution...
And you've had one or two after that.
The Revolution basically did not, build,
They finished the ones Gary was
Yes,
doing?
Gary, like the Boca and the Grenville Secondary and Happy Hill. These was school that was already, finishing and so on. The Revolution just, renamed
Bonnet
them.
government.
Bonnet government and so, so it's...
So you would have that situation. So the number of teachers that you would have had in 1958 is not the number of teachers that you're dealing with now. So you could have said
10% of what is there now.
So 1958, you could have said, well, 58, 25%. 2018, dealing with a lot more teachers and dealing with a lot more of higher salary, it is difficult to handle it in the same way that you would in 1958. So that has to be taken into consideration too.
You see, and the whole question, restoring and reform, right, come to the 1958 Act, right, it states, and I think that's where the 25% comes in, right, it states clearly that is what is there on the books. But the whole question of reforming, right, as Sheldon said, it has to change. It cannot remain the same. You understand? So that's where the whole question of negotiations comes in.
Mr. Technical Man, can you post the Memorandum of Understanding to the Hard Talk page, please? And link it back into the conversation.
Yes.
Because I want people...
important.
You just put it there? Yeah, because I want people to know that what we're saying here, we can back up with the documentation. Yeah, what we want people to know is that we could back up whatever we're saying with the documentation. So, restoration. So restoring. So the Pension Act of 1958 comes into play for everybody, not just for persons who would have been appointed to the service up to 1984 and those 40-something persons who were appointed to the service between 1984 and 1985, within the period that the law was being enacted. That now it comes into play for everybody. But that you cannot keep the act in the same way. The act needs to be reformed. So you have to rewrite the law. So the unions have to say, well...
That's about how much years now? 60 years?
Yeah. So government might say now, well, we're saying, government is saying 2%. The unions may say, no, we want the 25%. And government may say, well, no, we can't do the 25% because if we do that, this is what it's going to do to the financial situation of the country. But here's what. Maybe we could meet middle of the way. Maybe we could get a 5 or a 10.
Or 10%.
A 10% or something else that they could. But the only way you get that way is through negotiation, not trying to hold the government foot to the fire.
Yeah, it's not something that we want to get into and trying, as I always say, trying to force a point when you can negotiate. There is so much room for negotiation because, as you're saying, that 25%, it is not something that was agreed upon by government. It was something that was there from since 1958. So, in other words, it's a starting point.
For instance, there's another point that has to be made, and we open the phone line just now because we will get cussed. But we need to make these points. We need to make these. We really need to make these points.
Very
yes.
important.
Happy birthday, Dr. Mitchell. We know a lot of you want to call and say happy birthday, Dr. Mitchell. Very important. Nice. And some of you do it on all the programs already. So hold on with that. Right? But while it is important for persons to have the proper information in relation to this, including some teachers who have heard saying things that are way above and beyond.
Exactly.
I'm hearing some teachers who, number one, were not on the permanent staff. Now you've gotten permanent. The government didn't need to ensure that you are now going to get a pension and gratuity. They're ensuring that you get one, even if you don't agree with the level of it, but they're agreeing that you're going to get a pension and a gratuity. And you're still calling the people wicked? Or they don't care about teachers?
Yeah, I think the level of understanding about the agreements and the whole negotiation.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think...
I think some people are spinning it into politics and nonsense and not looking at reality.
Yeah, they're letting the political thing cloud their judgment. I mean, we have to move away from that.
So 300 plus teachers have been made permanent.
Yes, within the last couple of years.
300 were probably at home right now anyway, resting and reflecting. 300 people that were not permanently employed, that couldn't go in the bank, that couldn't, and had no pension and no gratuity to get. If government had decided that they're going and challenge the case, we could not and would not have had this discussion. And you're telling me out of those 300 people that have gotten the opportunity, they're still calling the government wicked and saying the government don't care?
And
I mean, you all just sit down and listen to yourself and think.
Yeah, and even the same leader of the union, the teachers' union, right, was in high praise for government for doing exactly, meeting one of their major issues, the whole question of making the teachers, most of the teachers, permanent. And they were high in praise and everything for that because they see the government is moving.
But it's under LL that happened?
It's under LL and because of his negotiating skills and it's through negotiations. LL, remember that, through negotiation, you were able, right, to get government to agree on a lot of these things, right? What about how much $1 million that were paid? What about the forward negotiations that were that took place with government instead of you waiting until 2019 to start negotiating for 2016? And so, negotiation has been forwarded, making it easier. And so, for the whole thing to go ahead. Come on. That is why we call it negotiations.
Devon, what we're going to do as well, I'm going to post the outcome of the Hermelin Armstrong case. I'm going to post the PDF to the Hard Talk page. While Naz has posted the MOU, we're going to post the Hermelin Armstrong case, and you would see that it does not include the 300 people who were just appointed, the 135 nurses thus far that have been appointed permanently to the government service, and it doesn't include those people who the Memorandum of Understanding speaks to in Phase 2. So the parties commit to the design of a contributory pension scheme for qualifying public officers and members of the discipline service in established posts so those who are even in the service yet, who will commence service from January 1st, 2019 next year. So the people now who will be coming into the service from January of next year, and they will have a pension scheme in place for them.
Waiting for them.
Also, it must be noted, because I heard an individual yesterday calling Ms. Beryl Isaac some very unfavorable names and saying that they was qualified for pension and they didn't get pension and so on and so on. Listen to this, Devon. If you have spent 25 years in the public service of Grenada, you could still receive a pension. There can be what is called a special pension that is approved through cabinet, and then you receive a special pension. You would not have qualified under the 26 and two-thirds.
Yeah.
But you can qualify for a special pension. You might have spent 10 years in the service or 15 years in the service. And government, through the cabinet, may decide that they're going to give you a special pension. So there's an individual that had the worst thing to say about Ms. Beryl Isaac. Instead of they say thanks because, one, they did not meet the qualifying criteria of 26 and two-thirds. Yeah? Some people, again, do not meet the 26 and two-thirds in one department. So an individual may have worked, let's say an individual was a police officer and became a police officer in the 1970s. And they worked up until 1970, let's say 1971, they worked up until 1979. They leave the service and they run. They went to the United States or so. And then they came back. And when they came back, after the restoration in 1984, they came back, 1985, they joined the police service again. But they're 4 years missing in between there. And then they attained the age of 60 without having made the 26 and two-thirds. Government can decide to join the two together. If it can come up to the 26 and two-thirds, there can be an application to join. And there have been several applications to join the two bits and pieces together. Or one may have been a police before, traveled, spent 10, 20 years outside, come back, and join the service as a teacher or in another department. and they may have made together, they may have made the 26 and 2/3. So it doesn't have to be continuous, but an application has to be made to the cabinet to join it, and then treat that person as a person who has made the 26 and 2/3. Devon?
Yeah, I know of a typical example of that where I used to work in the Ministry of Tourism.
So we're going to the phone lines?
Yes.
Before we get in trouble, let's go to the phone lines.
Good morning and welcome. Good morning.
Hello.
Morning to Mr. Sheldon Scott and Devon Romain.
Good morning, Camille.
And Grenada, Martin. Good morning. And to all my friends home and abroad. Good morning, Patty. So watch everybody. A special good morning to the Prime Minister and happy birthday. I wish you all the best. God blessing and good health. Sheldon, I can't stay long.
Okay, my dear.
And I boil the sorry. I'm going to bring you a bottle of sorry for you.
And,
you know,
and mines.
You hear me?
Yes, my love.
And mines.
All right. So I'll bring it down tomorrow. I'll boil it.
Devon asking for his own.
Next, gonna cut next time.
All right, Camille.
Gonna cut next time. What are they? When you put it in?
No problem.
You get yours, Devon.
No problem,
Yeah?
darling. Yes, darling. I hear
All
you.
right, and I have grapefruit. Anybody want grapefruit? Tell them come and get grapefruit.
Okay.
Hold some for me,
Have a
please.
blessed day.
Hold some.
Bye-bye.
Gabby, Devon said to hold some grapefruit for him.
Yeah, need some grapefruit.
I just usually get my sorry land thing by Camille.
Yeah. And by the way, I have some Asham Day. I say I wanted to pop advertise it, but you did quite in my bag.
But you can't eat it on air because you could choke.
And the Asham tasting real good.
As I say in choke, folks, just to let you all know, this one is aside from all the issues we've been discussing there thus far. Just to let you all know that there is an interruption in the supply of water between Snug Corner and the Lamode Junction for an indefinite period of time. There's a broken main, and in order to conserve and to repair, the water has been shut off for an indefinite period of time between Snug Corner and Lamode Junction. Nawasa apologizes for any inconveniences caused. And let me say a special good morning to our good friend Vaughn. Yeah. We called out Vaughn last night. Vaughn come out last night on his anniversary night in the rain. But he and the wife will have it out. He leave home on his anniversary night in the rain. Not just on the anniversary night, in the rain to go and shut off the valve.
Me as my wife, I'm making him sleep in the doghouse all week.
No, but that's Vaughn.
But that's a patriot.
I must big up.
That's a patriot.
I must big up Vaughn because but as Nazi B saying it in the background. If Vaughn had not done that last night, you would have had no road in that area.
In the
you saw it coming down.
Yeah, in the middle of the road, and you don't have to dig up that whole area there.
Yeah, so Vaughn left home in the rain, and we know down that side there's usually a lot of rain, but when rain falling in Bolio, Boca, Lamode, Willis, New Hampshire, when rain falling in them areas, he falling. So rain was falling last night, and Vaughn, on his own, left home and go and turn off the valve. Yes, he turned it back on this morning so people could get some water, so you could get to go to work and store your water and that sort of thing, but it had to be turned back off. And the team will be there a little later today to make sure that the problem, because our mains that burst, to make sure that the problem is resolved. So, Vaughn, we want to congratulate you, and as a fella, believe me, anytime I see a burst pipe anywhere within the St. George area and even outside it, by the time I call Vaughn, bet your bottom dollar within an hour, if not him, one of the team is going to be there. Yeah, but Vaughn, we had a really big year. You had to leave home on your anniversary night with rain falling. We hope you will let back inside.
I hope so.
I ain't too sure you was let back inside. I find your song like you sleep on the veranda or something. So I want to make sure. I find his song like you sleep on the veranda.
Good morning and welcome.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, my dear.
And how everybody doing?
Oh, good. At last you got through.
Pardon?
At last you got through.
We hear you, you know.
You're very low.
We hear you saying at last, you know. We hear you.
Oh, but Senator Scott, happy birthday to the Prime Minister first and foremost. May the blessing of the Lord keep him as he go from strength to strength. More education-wise, more upbeat and things like that. And I really admire his courage and faith. May the blessing of the Lord always keep surrounding him. Let his angels and God bless him. But you cleared up, Senator Scott and Mr. Romain, you cleared up a little something there that I was hearing about the ministers and them getting all what they have to get. They make sure and give all of them what they have to get, and the teachers not getting any. So you cleared up something there for me, and I feel better. So anytime anybody had to talk, I know exactly, what I could say and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that a lot of people under the impression that, for instance, a person like Mr. Roland Bowler,
yes,
who has made more than 2 terms, but has now retired from politics, from frontline, can you say you retired from frontline, from running?
Running, for now.
That he is receiving he's not receiving a pension. Not until he attains the age of, no, Mr. Bowler ain't getting nothing until he's 60.
Okay.
Nazim Burke, he spent 2 terms, 3 or 2? 2 terms as a parliamentarian. Yeah, and then he spent some time as a senator. Yeah. He's not receiving a pension until he gets to the age of where he is 60. So he's getting his pension. Yeah, he is 60. So he's getting his pension.
Okay.
But there are several others who may have spent 2 terms and are not going to receive that pension, even if it take 40 years. They ain't getting the pension until 40 years done. So in between, they have to find some living,
Okay.
Yeah, so people sometimes they watch parliamentarians and they feel that you have it all nice and good. That's not always the case. No.
They don't know. They always keep saying what they don't. And the next thing, Senator Scott and Mr. Romain, what they feel, I hear sentiment about we have too much of schools in Grenada. Probably that's why the government may not be able to pay all the teachers. But I was wondering, if like just a few of them was in the service just recently, and I was wondering if they're getting a pension, with what they're talking about right now.
No, but what is being discussed now is ensuring that they get their pensions.
Ensuring that they get it?
Yes, to make sure that they can get, legally they're not entitled to any pension. They receive their little kakara from the National Insurance Scheme, but legally they are not entitled to any pension. That's what I was reading earlier from the laws of Grenada in relation to the Pensions School Teachers Act. Section 18 deals with disqualification. It says no pension, gratuity or other allowance under this act shall be granted to any teacher first appointed as such on or after the 4th of April 1983.
Okay.
So, in other words, they don't qualify. But government is qualifying them now. Government has said we're going to restore the 1958 Act. And when we restore the 1958 Act, we have to reform it as well. So we're going to restore it. We're going to put it back in place. But some things have to change in it because you're dealing with a different dynamic.
All right.
Yeah. So we can't go with the 25% that was there when you probably had... we probably had 400 teachers on the island.
Okay.
We have to change that now because now you're dealing with 4,000.
Yes. And what I was thinking too, oh boy, it kind of slipped me a minute. I had it in my mind, but it just kind of go out there. But anyway, I was thinking that all the teachers and them, they stayed home on their reflection. I thought they were qualified. That is why they was demanding. I find that is demanding because they feel they're not getting it. And they're staying home at that sense to twist the government to pay them.
They're qualified now because government has signed a memorandum of understanding. Hold on. Government has signed a memorandum of understanding earlier this year that says they will. So they are now bound to ensure that these individuals get a pension and gratuity. But how the calculation takes place is what is being discussed. Because remember, whether 2% or 25%, a teacher don't necessarily have to take gratuity, They can just say, I want my full pension when I'm at 60.
All right.
They don't have to take the gratuity. But if they want to take it, I think what the teachers are attempting to do is make sure that, look, when we get the gratuity, we want a proper sum so that in case we have little bills and so we have to take care of, we could wipe off all of that. so that we can live comfortably. And I don't think anybody would have a problem against them for that.
Okay, but I was wondering in my mind too.
Okay, my love.
Listen, just the teachers. What about the policemen?
Everyone is included in this, eh?
Oh, and the nurses?
Because whatever negotiations you make with one union...
will cover most of them.
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah, like for instance, when you make the one-off payment, when the one-off payment was made, whatever was given to one union had to be given to all the other unions.
Okay.
Yes, okay, so whatever comes out of this, it's not just teachers we're speaking about, but there's a specific act in relation to teachers' pensions.
Oh.
And there's one in relation to parliamentarians, and I think there's a third one in relation to judges and so on.
Okay.
So there are specific acts in relation to those things. I think one deals with the police as well.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, my dear.
Thanks so much, Have a nice one, Mr. Romain.
Yes, my dear.
Later.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Right.
Thanks. Yeah, bye-bye.
Right. Sheldon, I wanted to make that point, because some people are of the impression that government is basically taking away pension from teachers and public workers. Well, that is not the case. Right, as we stated earlier,
that's ludicrous.
This government is trying its utmost best to restore and to reform that whole question. They're not taking it away. How can you take away something from somebody that they did not have?
And this is the thing. There are people that are trying to demonize the government. That's why we had to say what we said today. And we're not saying this just for saying its sake. We can back up everything that we're saying. That's why I'm going to make sure that the Hermelin Armstrong case, the PDF of that, the judgment in that, I'm going to make sure that it's posted.
And the MOU.
And the MOU, I'm going to make sure it's posted to the Hard Talk page. We're going to post both of them. Because, folks, it is not that government had to do it. Morally, any government should have to do it.
Yes.
But to be... To be real, legally government wasn't bound to do it. Government decided it's not going to say it alone. It's going to bind itself to have to do it. So that's why the Memorandum of Understanding was signed. And government has not breached the Memorandum of Understanding.
As stated by a lot of people. You know?
I don't understand that one. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
4407377. Let's go to the phone line.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you, Devon.
Good morning, my friend.
Mr. Sheldon Scott.
Morning, sir.
What's happening, man?
I'm fine.
Okay, let me take the time off to say happy birthday to my beloved Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Claudius Mitchell. Hoping you have a happy day by the blessing of Almighty God on your birthday today. From Mr. Mills in Carriacouman.
All right, my friend.
So you all good?
Yes, we're trying. We're trying our best.
Taking it up easy up here.
All right.
Take care, buddy.
Take care.
All right.
Morning, Lil Rena.
Go ahead. I'll hear about Patrick and Lil Rena. And you go set foot in Carriacou again?
Yeah, getting ready to go up in Carriacou. Yes, what are some of the activities in Carriacou for the next couple of...
Parang coming up, boy.
Coming up.
I nearly say men from the mainland. What is his name? Ghetto Boys down here? They Ghetto Boys down here and thing, they playing...
never been to a parang.
It was in Dragon Bay. Last night, even with the rain. It was down there last night and so... I don't know how it turned out, though. I don't know if it was a big thing, a small thing. Sort of thing.
Sheldon, just before we go, someone posted Depot posted something concerning the national swimmers. They
lick it up again.
They went and clean it up again. All right, congratulations to all our youngsters.
I find they acting as Damian Daniel now. Every time they go, they're just licking up everything.
We want everything.
Yeah, they're acting like Damian Daniel.
Want everything. You see, they are prepared. And kudos to all our swimmers and parents and supporting staff, for continuing to do an excellent job, right, in putting Grenada on top when it comes to swimming. Right?
Who is this idiot? You can't have a name like Smart and you're so dunce. Come on, man. What stupidness is that? Yeah, you can't have a name as Smart and be so dunce to be posting that kind of nonsense. Yeah? Because when you talk about bribe, I can tell you this. This administration is the only one that put in place anti-corruption legislation. Yeah? All of them who was talking about bribe and good governance and so never do it was the new National Party. It was the first bill that went to Parliament. I would know because I was there. So don't come with that stupidness about to collect bribe and thing. If you have information, go to the Integrity Commission.
Well, tell us and we will bring it to the Integrity.
Yeah, no, you can bring it for yourself. If you don't trust, bring it for yourself. Easy to make dumb statements. It's a different thing to try and back it up with factual information.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah? So we're saying that the Memorandum of Understanding is there. It's easy to go look at the Memorandum of Understanding and know exactly what you're talking about. Easy to go and check the Memorandum of Understanding to know what you're referring to and so. So I've read the Memorandum of Understanding, and I am yet to see where the government has breached the Memorandum of Understanding, especially with negotiations still going on. So I want to find out from the Labour Commissioner if there's another industrial issue, or the Minister of Education, or the Minister of Labour, the Labour Commissioner, whoever. Find out if there's an industrial issue. Yeah, teachers, I understand where you're coming from, but I do not agree with your actions in trying to reach the destination that you're going to. So while we could understand where you're coming from, because if government didn't understand where you're coming from, they would not have embarked on the process that they embarked on.
Definitely. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I know it was you in.
Lord, well, I tell all you, this program is hot like fire. Let me say a happy birthday to the king of the pack. Now, Mr. Scott and Devon here, I'm pro-teachers, but this action baffles me. Now, my question to you first is that the teacher staying at home, was it a situation where negotiation was deadlocked or it was exhausted? Question.
That it was deadlocked? Well,
or exhausted. I don't think
apparently, they got to a stage that they just walked off the table. They just decided that they walked off the table on the 3rd of October and have not returned since. So no negotiation can take place with one side.
Okay. Now, from since this issue started, like I've said, I'm a guy with common sense, so sometimes this issue is above my level. But this one, seems to better understand the government position in contrast to the aggrieved meaning the GUT. Now, Mr. Scott, now here what I say. Gratuity is an advance payment on one's pension. So whenever one reaches the pensionable age, the grats, whatever the amount was, will be deducted from his or her monthly pension for a period of 12 years. Am I correct in my assessment?
Yeah.
All right. Now, the government is saying that what they could pay now in grats is 2%, which is what the physical space
space.
Am I correct?
Yeah, the fiscal space at this time, because remember, it's not something that's going into the Constitution, because I've heard people speaking about the 25% is in the Constitution of Grenada. I would like them to tell me which section, because I know section 92 and 93 of the Constitution deals with pensions. And within the entire Constitution of Grenada, the word gratuity is mentioned twice, and nowhere does it say 25%. So anyone saying that the 25% is in the Constitution of Grenada is lying.
So now, let me ask you this question now, Mr. Scott. Mm-hmm. Now, is it a situation whereby the president of the GUT misread, misinterpret? I don't understand what was taking place.
Listen, the thing is, if you're a trade unionist, your job is to attempt to get the best deal for your constituents, the people who placed you in that position, and to use whatever means legally available at your disposal to do that. I think in this instance, something that is quote-unquote illegal because it's not part of any industrial dispute going on, that these individuals have gone about and decided that they're going to attempt to force the hand of government.
No, my next question to you, sir. Now, based on what the government is, Ms. Isaac is saying that if the government was to agree to that 25%, it will cost the government about $21 million, which is money, which if they agree to that, it would be a situation whereby the government will lose funding as a result of our Fiscal Responsibility Act, which was put in place to avoid us going back to the economic and financial cesspit that we was in before. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Now, Mr. Scott, let me wrap up here. Do you know the teacher staying away from work does not affect me in a negative way much, despite the fact I have a 10-year-old in the system. The reason why? Because he have a capable mother at home to assist him. But what happened to those who don't have, that kind of help? And listen, now, you see now this thing with about gratuity is an advance payment. Now, I have 3 pensions, Now, and one of them allows me, to withdraw 20%, 25% of my vested interest, even long before I reach the age. But it must be to go to education, which is tuition fee. Our medical expenses are, if I get sick and I cannot pay my mortgage, it allows me to withdraw 25% of my vested interest for such purposes. But what I have to go back to look at carefully now and go online to find out is if, as a result of me doing that, if it will cut into my pension whenever I reach that pensionable age. Mr. Scott and Devon, gentlemen, I better understand exactly what is taking place. I hope we come to some form of agreement, very soon. Because at the end of the day, it's the children, and there is a lot of parents out there that really depends on the school system on a daily basis, and I know it affects them tremendously. So I hope at some point the teachers, will realize that maybe, this was not the best action to take, and the government will find some middle ground whereby we could come to some form of arrangement. Gentlemen, have a pleasant day.
All right, thank you.
my friend. You're wonderful.
And before we leave, we'd like to offer condolences to the Antoine family and the passing of Mr. Antoine.
Mr. Antoine,
yeah. Timothy's father.
Timothy and all
Timothy
the others,
Antoine,
yeah.
A lot of others.
All the other siblings.
A lot of
others.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah, Devon, before we go, we have one final call.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, both to you, Devon and Sheldon.
Yes, my dear.
Listen, I listened to Mr. Donald yesterday with Mr. Boson, and he gives such an excellent explanation of what's going on with this memorandum and whatever. I wish you could have got a hold of it and let play that part where he really did give a great explanation. I also want to say this. There is a saying would say, you kill the goose to get a golden egg. Does that make sense? I don't think so. So I really hope and pray that these negotiators will have some sense of sympathy and reason and love. I stress on the word love, brothers, that they will understand what is being said from our Prime Minister and all the other people in the negotiation, that we have to spread whatever resources we have. So how come that they're going on so unreasonable? And I want to say one more thing about the referendum. Now, the last time I was very upset, Sheldon. But you know what? I'm not upset now. Because people have to understand we're in a both physical and spiritual world. And the enemy, who is the devil, is always there to upset things. And I hope those carnal Christians, I'm saying they are carnal, because they are joining in with the wickedness, whatever is portrayed.
My dear, we have to wrap. We have to wrap right here because it's 3 minutes after the hour. We've got to go. We don't have a choice.
So I will don't talk another time, and let us just keep on doing what we have to do.
We do need
and
to
I'll
go.
talk another time. Thank you so much.
All right, my dear.
Take care.
I know sometimes we want to get into it, but folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. We need to go right now. We need to go right now. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to play, a program on understanding pension reform. We're going to play that for you right after this ad. Yeah, we'll put our ad there, and we'll put our ad there, and we're going to put this here, and we're going to play that for you folks. And whatever you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you.
And not about you.
Love each and every one of you. All right? Peace out.
The Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts present Youth Week 2018. Empowering our youth, shaping our community, protecting our future. The week of activities kicks off on Friday, November 9th with the Minister's Address from 8 p.m. Saturday, 10th November, Health Fair, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cuthbert Peters Park, Guam. And the Fitness Revolution, 3 p.m. Concord Junction. Sunday, 11th November, it's the Peace Concert, Grenville Bus Terminal. On Tuesday, 13th November, ministers meet with the youth at Her Majesty's Prison. Thursday, 15th November from 5 p.m. It's the Imani Graduation, Youth Awards and Gala. And on Friday, 16th through the weekend, it's the National Youth Service Weekend. Every parish get involved. And on Saturday, 17th November, it's Youth Expo, Explosion Fashion and Cultural Day. 2 p.m. until at Hero Square, Victoria in St. Mark. So remember, Youth Week 2018, November 9th to the 17th.